Hi, I'm Angela Non.
I'm Ariana Kempis.
And this is BRB Crying.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to BRB Crying. I'm Ariana, also known as Arns.
And I'm Angela, also known as Nins.
And we're back.
We're on the couch. The couch.
The couch.
Where we bare our souls. We cry a little bit. Mm-hmm. We spit out some wisdom. Mm-hmm. And you listen in.
Love it.
I really just pulled that one out.
That one was good. Beautiful.
Thank you, thank you.
Speaking of couches, I know we've talked about maybe doing away with this one, getting 2 chairs. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I keep thinking about it because I know we both kind of sink into this one.
Yeah, and it's like really hard to...
Yeah. Yeah, like you sit down and then like I fly in the air and then I sit down and then it's wild. So I don't know, maybe next season you'll see us with a different... Probably not. It's not really in the budget, but
just gonna shit out some money to buy 2 new chairs.
We'll start a GoFundMe. And
there you go. There you go.
Yeah, you all can contribute.
So if you guys see a change, don't panic. We will walk you through it. We will hold your hands through our furniture changes.
Yes, yeah.
And our makeshift set.
Makeshift? This is a set.
That's true.
This is a real set.
This is a whole production. This is a whole ass thing.
Yes. Yeah. Right before you hit record, we were just talking about Nobody Wants This on Netflix. And we were saying that who seems to be doing the editing? Who's doing the marketing? Who's doing the social media? I don't know. They're just showing up and talking. So... props to us.
Props to us because we know what really happens behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm. Grueling work.
I love that like so many people are like, have you seen this? This is so you guys. And I'm like, is it?
That's insulting. Anyway, how are you?
Oh, how am I?
How are you?
I am exhausted. I'm exhausted. I'm not going to lie. My energy levels are pretty low today. It's just been really busy at work. It's just been very energy consuming. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I'm fucking here.
You're here. You showed up.
Speaking of shitting stuff out, I'm just gonna shit out the story too.
Yeah,
it'll be a
good
theme today. Just me.
What are you
what
saying?
Else to tell you.
What are you saying right now?
Fucking pulled up in sweats.
I love it though. It means you're comfy and you're ready to just take that mask off.
Yeah. The real me. Now the real stories start,
Yeah.
Everything else I've said in the last several episodes, just...
No. Nah.
How about you?
I'm pretty good.
That's great.
I think that my answer usually just depends on the amount of sleep I've been getting.
Okay.
And I slept a lot last night, so
okay.
So I feel good today.
That's great.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thanks.
What's that like?
Let me tell you, it's good. Like, life is good.
No, I haven't been down on sleep. It's more like the waking hours are just perpetual anxiety,
Yeah, your social battery.
So I'm so tired that by the time my head hits the pillow, it's like,
Ooh, what's that like? It's been a while since I fell asleep right when my head hits the pillow.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
We want to switch places for a little bit and then you can like...
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I can do your job, I think.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Same.
Yeah.
Something with like numbers, right? Okay.
Just laptop and...
Yeah. Get a little Excel sheet going on. I'll put like a couple numbers in one row. And then at the end, I'll put equals, sum,
Yeah, that's good. You know what? No, your Excel sheets are pretty nice.
Thank you.
You play around with the colors.
Thank you.
The fonts. They're good.
I feel like I took that from you. Our career center job in college where we had to make a bunch of data spreadsheets.
Yeah.
And we were so particular about like, April is more of like spring. So
I
we
still do that. I still think about the month and what that color, like what that evokes in me.
What's the vibe? Yeah.
You gotta.
I do that with my like travel spreadsheets too.
Love a travel. I love our travel spreadsheets.
Oh, so good, right?
If any of you need a template, we got you. I got some announcements.
Hit me.
So we are nearing the end of the season, everyone. We were not kidding. We are going to follow the quarter system academic calendar. We're going to take a long ass winter break, and this is going to be our last episode. Then we'll have a bonus little sob story episode, and then we're going to dip for like 2 months.
We're going to hibernate.
Yeah. Ooh, that's cute. Let's use that. We're going to hibernate, and you'll see us in January.
The best month. It's like the worst month, but it's my birthday month, so.
I was like, who's literally no one. But for you, I'll let you have that. Jan 7, everyone. Our favorite Capricorn. I can't wait for January. And also, we got more hats. Sold out of our first batch. Came back, bought even more, and they are ready for you. So go to our link in bio on Instagram. We're at brbcrying.podcast on all socials. And you will find a link there. And also sign up for the newsletter, because if you signed up for the newsletter, you would already know this.
Mm-hmm. Come on. Don't you want your hands on that cute fucking hat? It's so cute.
I don't know if you've been seeing this. People have been posting themselves and tagging us in their stories. And I love it. They've been like so vulnerable.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh my God, this is exactly. I'm not asking them.
No.
You would think I was paying them. I'm not. No. I'm not asking them to do this. And they're just doing it on their own accord. And they're like, yeah, I wear it with me so proudly everywhere when I, oh God.
Stop.
I love it.
I'm going to cry.
Please. We welcome it.
So yeah, if you want to join the crew.
Boohoo crew. Shout out my husband for coming up with that a little too late. You know, we were halfway through our second season. And he was like, why not Boohoo crew? Why didn't you fucking tell me that?
We asked for suggestions. We didn't get any response. So we went with Crybaby.
It's what I'm saying. You know what? It's fine.
It's okay.
Boohoo crew is when you have the hat. You know,
gotcha.
Let's do that. All right. That's all I got.
All right.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
You starting us off today?
I guess.
You gonna shit out a story?
Yeah, I'll shit one out for you. Hold on.
She loves it here, everyone. She's so happy to be here right now.
Hey. You've had your fair share as well.
Oh, yeah.
Of episodes where you're just like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. Those are rough.
Okay. Easy cry level today. Solid 1.
Ooh, okay.
I've had some heavy hitters this season. I'm just gonna today, please give me something easy. I'm gonna fucking chill.
Okay.
I'm gonna start off with a fun fact for you.
Ooh. Can I guess it?
Yeah. And until you get it right. No, not that one.
Not even like hot or cold. Just like, nope, keep going.
Try again.
Okay, I'm sorry. Please hit me.
Okay. Did you know that my name, Angela, is derived from the word angel?
Oh, I did not.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
It's hard, right? Like you wouldn't suspect. Like you wouldn't. What does that mean? What does Angela mean?
No. Mm-mm.
Have you ever looked up what your name meant?
Yeah, but I don't remember.
Okay. It's most holy.
Most holy?
Excellent.
Me?
Pure. Sacred.
Okay.
It's giving like pure blood though, you know?
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, anyway, I like to think that even if we don't go to like the Google meaning of our names, I feel like the sound of the name and like the vibe of the name does set a precedent for what kind of person they'll be. 100%, right?
Yeah.
Did your parents ever consider another name for you?
Yeah. My dad's name is Ben, so he wanted to name me Benita.
Can you imagine? No, can you imagine?
I can't. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Be or Be Crying. I'm Benita, also known as Benny. Oh, no. I can't imagine.
Right. I don't think my parents ever considered another name. They were like, Angela. Mm-hmm. So why do I bring this up? Why do I bring up names? Well, because today I will be talking to you about a musician, and her name is Tems, which is short for Temilade, which in Nigerian means the crown is mine.
Oh.
Right?
Oh.
Like, can you fucking imagine if that's your fucking name?
That's
like,
really cool.
You fucking know. Like, this is someone who's meant for something fucking big.
Ooh. Okay.
So sources for today, a 2020 interview Tems did with Nelson CJ for OK Africa, a 2022 interview Tems did with Carl Lamare for Billboard, and a 2024 interview Tems did with Cordy EO. So Tems is an Afrobeats and R&B singer from Nigeria, and she's been breaking through the music industry for the last 4 to 5 years, and she's just fucking killing it. She is in the middle of a world tour right now. And in fact, I just went and saw her last month in SF.
Is that who you saw?
That's who I saw. I went with my sis, shout out Tiny, and incredible show. Oh my God, so good, so good. I came across her music maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I had a few of her songs in my Spotify library, but it wasn't until I came across her Tiny Desk. It was at the time when they were doing the at-home desk concerts because it was COVID. So it was kind of cool because it was longer videos. People were doing 5, 6 songs. And her set was fucking gorgeous. So yeah, I got caught up in her Tiny Desk and I was like, well, this looks aesthetically so beautiful. And then I was like, also, every song is a fucking bop. It's just, I love her sound. So yeah, she's just great. And as I've delved into her a little bit more, in all of these live performances, in all of these interviews that I've seen her give, and all of these clips of her, she just gives off such a grounding presence. She's just very rooted to who she is. And it's almost like she's unbothered by any sort of outside noise or any sort of unnecessary shit. There's a inner peace to her energy. And she just exudes such a calm confidence. And you can very clearly hear that in the music that she creates. So for my story today, I want to highlight one of her songs. I actually wanted to highlight 2, but I just did not have the bandwidth to do both.
Okay.
The reason I wanted to do more than just one of her songs is because I genuinely feel like so much of her music is almost like a spiritual experience, which I know sounds fucking dramatic, but you'll see.
Not dramatic at all.
Yeah, I just feel like her music has this ability to translate these very specific feelings into sounds. And then the lyrics or the messages of her songs, they make you think. They make you realize God, she has so much insight to offer. And I think it just speaks to the rarity of her artistry. So I'll cover one song today. I'll eventually cover the other song I have in mind in a future episode at some point. But first, before we dive into the song, some context. So Tems was born in Nigeria in 1995. She actually lived in the UK for the first 5 years of her life, and then she moved back to Nigeria, where she graduated from college with a degree in economics.
Okay.
She's an academic. And she describes her childhood as a lonely one, or maybe not lonely. I think it was an intentional choice for her to be alone a lot of the time. She talks a lot in her interview with Cordy EO about being really shy as a kid and being very selective about who she chooses to spend time with. Can you imagine having that maturity?
Boundaries? Okay.
Such a young age.
Yeah.
She said that she found a lot of reasons to not like people and wasn't very interested in other people's petty dramas, which is like, I cannot relate because give me every single petty drama that you have to share. I want to listen. Again, at a very young age, just very sure of who she was and what she was worth. Lonely at the top wearing that crown of hers, you know? Mm-hmm. Okay, so after graduating from college, she starts working for this digital marketing firm. And she talks about how she did everything right. She did everything that she was supposed to do, everything that her family expected her to do. But she was like, dude, I fucking hate this. Which is like, what? Like, what do you mean you hate working? It's so fun, you know? So all throughout her life, music had always been her safe haven, and specifically the joy in making music. It gave her such peace. And she was like, this is what I have to offer the world. So in 2018, she quit her job and she was like, okay, I'm going to give this a real honest shot. Like, I really think I have something here. Wins a Grammy 5 years later, but okay. So this song that I want to talk about today is from her first studio album called Born in the Wild, which was released this year in 2024. And the song is called Me and You. So I want to spend a good amount of time talking about both the song and the music video. Which she directed herself very casually.
Of course.
So I'm not going to tell you anything about the song.
Yes.
We're going to go in blind. But for those of you listening, if you want to watch this before we dive into it, again, this is the music video for Me and You by Tems.
That was so cool.
Arns, do you have any guesses as to what the whole meaning and message of the song was? If you could summarize it.
I don't know if I want to, because
That's fair.
what you were saying about it feeling spiritual, it's like, I don't want to butcher. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. The sanctity of whatever that was.
Well, I mean, you're on the right path. This song is about her relationship with God and her relationship with herself. Oh, I'm already... Oh, okay. So we will dive into why those two separate relationships can actually be interchangeable. I'm telling you, dude, she's like on an elevated plane, you know, that fucking crown of hers. I'm crying already. So kind of new territory for our podcast. I know that we haven't really talked about the existence of God or organized religion or even spirituality as a whole. We kind of skirted around it when we talked about Journey of Souls, but this is definitely coming at it from a different angle today. And I'm a little nervous about kind of delving into this territory, mainly because I'm clearly not an expert at all on the subject. And I also know that it can be a sensitive one where people kind of, I don't even want to go there. But maybe just some background on me, and hopefully that kind of establishes that this is a safe space. Straight up, like you and me, product of fucking, 20 years of Catholic private school. And, you know, my family, very typical Filipino Catholic family, and a lot of that was embedded in my childhood and kind of forming my moral compass. And I think now that I'm older, I do feel pretty detached from a lot of the traditions and structures and beliefs around Catholicism. And this is by no means a unique experience. I think I know a lot of people who feel the same level of, I don't really know. And I think that's totally fine. That's totally normal. And it's to be expected. But with all of that aside, I do still prescribe to this wonderful idea that there is a bigger meaning to all of this. I don't know what it is, and I'm not going to call it God, and I'm not going to advocate for a certain way of thinking over some other idea, nor am I trying to convince anyone listening that there is this one and right way to do it. But I will say for me that I still believe and feel that there is some higher power out there. And whatever it is, my personal relationship to this cosmic force is just between me and this force, period. And this is what Tems is saying in this song. The first lines in her song are, "This is my decision. This is my decision." And she's upfront about it. This is up to me to decide what to believe, what to take from this relationship. I don't need to abide by any set of rules or an established formula. And the chorus, repeated all throughout the song, is just one lyric. Only me and you. This is between me and God, and that's it. And as you're watching this fucking gorgeous music video, you see Tems in various settings. Scenes of her standing in the middle of the ocean, her gazing up at a sunset, her on the balcony of this high-rise building. All of these scenes juxtapose her against this vastness, these physical settings that hint to the magnitude of a higher unknown. And she's alone. It's just her and this endless expanse. And then as we get into the second verse and chorus, we get scenes of her in this candlelit temple. And it's the only house of worship that you see in this whole music video. But still, when she's in this temple, she's alone. And she's dancing. And she's praying. And she's meditating. And she's surrounded by all these candles. And it feels intimate. And it feels personal. And it feels private. And that's what spirituality should be and should feel like. And finally, this last setting that we're introduced to in kind of the latter half of the song, it's an homage to her Nigerian culture. There are scenes of her participating in some sort of cultural dance with what appears to be a village or a tribe. And there are other women playing drums while Tems dances. And it's almost like she's tapping into this divine femininity stemming from all of these women who surround her, you know, her roots, her people. And in this setting, I always tear up when I see this very brief clip of her where she's actually playing the drums with this little girl. And Tems is sitting down while the girl is standing over her, and they're both beating this drum together, and Tems is looking up at this girl. And it could be several things. It could be this awe that you experience as a mother raising a child. It could be you looking at the younger version of yourself, your inner child. And it's like all these snippets in this music video are alluding to this idea that there are just so many ways to access this power. All of these things are ways that we experience a connection to something beyond words. And that's it. That's the relationship with God when you no longer have the words. Tems says that Me and You is about discovering the real me, building a genuine relationship with the Creator, and gaining a true perception of self. And I think it's perfect the way that she puts these two hand in hand. And you'll see that in the video too, these visuals of like her walking on water or her wearing all white, these very direct symbols of her being the divine. And I think for you and me, we talk so much about our own journeys of self-improvement and understanding ourselves and facing our feelings. I mean, that's why we made this pod, you know, like that's why we talk about these things week after week. But at some point we have to ask ourselves, why are we doing this? What's it all for? Like, what is tying all of this together? And whatever your answer to that question is, that's for you. Religion, faith, spirituality, whatever it is, we'll never know 100%. We'll never get it right completely. And we're not meant to. But if at some point in this life, if you have even a tiny semblance of feeling a connection to something that is greater than you, then that's yours to treasure. It's personal, it's private. It's not for us to enforce on anyone. It's not something that we're obligated to broadcast for the masses. But if we want to, it's there for us to tap into. No one can take that from us. So, thank you, Tems, for reminding us all and giving us a fucking bop in the process.
That is such a bop.
Right?
If I heard that at like the fucking club, I'd be like,
right? And that's the thing. I was listening to it because I was like, oh, this is fucking catchy. And it was Tiny who was like, you know what the song is about, right? And I was like, no, what's it about? I was like, oh my God. Like, imagine having the wisdom and the talent
yeah,
to share that.
that is such a common thing in everything we talk about. Like having that knowledge and being able to transform it into something that we can just like look at and be in such awe of.
Yeah.
I like how you started this by saying, I'm just going to shit out a story. That was so beautiful. And I really appreciate you touching so delicately on this matter of organized religion and spirituality, because you're right, we definitely don't talk about, and I feel like it's been kind of intentional in not necessarily bringing it up. It's been on my mind too, like, you know, because this is something that I feel is really big to us off screen. And we've had a lot of conversations about it in private. But I appreciate the way you phrase that, because I think for me personally, when I look back on a lot of that, there's a lot of hostility. And I love what you did here and what Tems has done, because it's a reminder that religion and spirituality doesn't have to be something that I'm angry about and in my past. It can be something that I can look at differently.
It's something for you to reclaim.
Yeah.
In whatever way you want to. You don't have to be told anymore. You can forge your own path.
Like there's a freedom there.
Yeah.
I will definitely, I could cry just like reimagining the video now, knowing the full depth of
Yeah.
I knew I didn't want to give a fucking shot at what is this about?
What were you going to say?
No, it's just that like I don't think any bullshit that was going to come out of my mouth would have measured up to.
Yeah. Yeah. But you know what I mean by like, it just feels like, oh, wow, we're on a different plane right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I fucking love her.
I'm not really familiar with her stuff, so I'm excited to like get into it. Oh, that was so good. Because you know how every week it's like, oh wow, our stories actually tie well together.
Yeah.
When you first started saying yours, I was like, no, ours is very different. But then like,
Yeah.
but then you fucking brought it around and I was like,
Okay. Shit.
Oh, hold on, let me linger on Tems a little bit.
Do you want to watch it again? Let's just fucking watch it again.
Yeah.
Fuck it. I mean, we haven't done this before, but I feel like I know that you like going in blind, but now that you have the context, it's even more.
No, yeah,
you know
I
mean?
will cry now.
Okay.
I feel like we could do an entire season on this kind of shit. Like, there's so much.
What do you mean?
Like, I feel like there's like, for a lot of us, there's a lot buried there around this entire topic. I think that it's sensitive for a reason. And I think it is because it is so private when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
Like there's just so much there's so much I could say right now, but again,
you don't need to. It's yours.
I genuinely feel like I'm in therapy. Like, this is oh, Tems, girl, you got me. You got me with that one.
Well, I'm glad you liked it.
I did, yeah. That was pretty good. I mean, it's okay. Ooh, all right. Okay.
All right, I'm going to sit fucking back.
Kind of a hard pivot, but not really.
We'll figure something out to pull them together.
Oh, it's there.
Okay.
It's there. But contextually feels like a hard pivot.
That's fine.
Okay. So I know you and I joke often about being academics.
Joke?
See? That's what
What
I'm
do you
saying.
mean?
That's what I'm saying.
Where's the joke?
Yeah. We are. What am I saying? But I would like to say, you guys don't know we're being like sarcastic when we say like, oh yeah, we're academic. Yeah. I mean, it's because we're really like not. Okay, let me just, please.
Okay, fine.
If you don't understand, if you haven't been tuning in for the past 18 episodes.
We're frauds, okay?
We're frauds, okay. I think some of that is our fault, but I genuinely think a lot of it is due to our education and how deeply flawed the education system was, especially when it comes to history. We were almost always taught history from the colonizer's perspective, very rarely from an Indigenous perspective, or the perspective of any colonized people for that matter. But now that we're older and more learned, it's November. We're approaching Thanksgiving. We know that it's not just about the fucking cornucopia. You know, it's not about the little pilgrims, the Mayflower. Plymouth. No. We know that it is Native American History Month. So today I'm going to be talking about a documentary called Daughter of a Lost Bird. My sources for today are an episode from a podcast called All My Relations, and it's titled Native Children Belong in Native Homes. That episode aired on March 8th, 2023. And honestly, really good episode. They're so smart and funny. They even cried. I was like, okay. Yeah.
Friend request. Add me.
Add me. And then I also reference season 2 of a different podcast called This Land. And then my last source is the documentary itself, Daughter of a Lost Bird. Side note, I had the hardest time figuring out how to watch this.
Okay.
I wanted to watch it so badly, but I could only find like, purchase this academic license for $400. I was like, no, I can't, but I can't afford that. So finally I was like, I like emailed the film, like their general email. I was like, hey,
Yeah.
And they sent me a link. It was $2 on the documentary channel. Yeah, I will link it there. So all of you can watch it. It's pretty short. It's like a little over an hour.
Okay.
So some context. I want to give a little brief history lesson before I dive into the documentary, because I think this is really, really important shit. So, as we know, as I hope we know, after centuries of genocide and stealing Native people's land, the U.S. government, in a last-ditch effort to eradicate all Native peoples, started the Indian Adoption Project in the late 50s. Have you heard of this?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Is what I'm saying, you know?
Right.
So the goal was to displace Native children and put them in white homes.
Huh?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
What?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So as quoted in the documentary, the goal was to absorb and assimilate these children. So they would literally, like, people would come home from the grocery store and their kids would be gone. Like they would come up and they would literally like snatch a kid and put them in
fuck?
Yeah, it's so fucked up. Yeah, no. I started doing some background trying to put the story together, and I was fucking riveted because I was obviously outraged. I kept finding different podcasts to listen to, and I was like, I have to put together my story, but I can't stop. Like, this is crazy. Yeah. It's really fucked up.
What was the act called?
It was called the Indian Adoption Project.
Oh my God.
So for 2 decades, pretty much, around 30% of Native children were in foster homes. Yes. Yeah. See, the shock is like, this shouldn't come as a shock to us because this is so fucked up and we were just never taught this stuff.
My God.
Yeah. And so the narrative was that they were saving these children from savagery and barbarism. And obviously we see now it was cultural genocide. They were trying to hopefully assimilate these kids into white homes so that pretty soon there would be no more Native peoples. Fucking fucked. So in 1978, Native activists pushed the Indian Child Welfare Act through legislation. And the point of this was to protect Native children from being separated from their tribes. And this is so important.
1978?
Yeah. Yes. No, like 20 years later. Yeah.
What the
It was...
fuck?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. I'm just like in shock.
Exactly. Yeah. Listeners, this is fucked. And this is why this shit is important. Okay. Anyway, so the Indian Child Welfare Act, known as ICWA for short, it's been hailed as the gold standard for positive outcomes in the child welfare system. And this all resurfaced in the news about a year ago because it was being challenged in the Supreme Court. I could fucking get into this.
I just did like the biggest eye roll of my life.
Yeah. I didn't write this down, but it all started because of a white family who was like, that's racist that we can't adopt this Native child who we've been fostering. That's not fair.
Oh my God.
It's so fucked.
You're supposed to make me cry, not fucking rage.
I'm sorry. I did cry. Okay. Anyway, so thankfully it was challenged, but it upheld in court. And I said in my sources, this podcast called This Land, their entire season 2 is kind of following this whole progression. Incredible. I'll link this all in the show notes. Yeah, and so basically these Native children were just pawns in this grand scheme to dismantle tribal sovereignty. So with that said, we'll get into the documentary. So Daughter of a Lost Bird follows a woman named Kendra Potter. And it was produced by another woman named Brooke Peppian Swaney, who is herself Native, and she's an enrolled citizen of the Blackfeet Nation. This was filmed over the course of 7 years. And some background on Kendra. So she's Native and she was adopted by a white family. But she was raised in such a loving environment that it really wasn't an emotional void that was pushing her to dig up her roots. It was more when she was pregnant with her first child. It caused her to set out on this journey. So after a shit ton of paperwork and bureaucracy, she finally makes contact with her biological mother named April. And they write letters. They send these emails back and forth. And Kendra finds out that she's Lummi, which is a tribe in Northwest Washington State. And it's situated on the water. And having discovered this part of her identity, Kendra wants to claim being Native, but she doesn't really know what that looks like because she spent her whole life, being white. So at this point in the documentary, it's 2013. She's pregnant with her first child. And she has this realization that I have never seen my own blood. She says, this is a quote from the documentary, "I can't fathom how somebody would go through this experience of feeling someone move inside of them and not be changed forever." So again, years of back and forth, lots of bullshit. We finally get to see their first phone call and then eventually their first reunion. And that's one of the scenes I wanted to show you. Okay, so I'm about to show Nin's scene, and this is Kendra and April's first phone call. See, I told you I cried. Yeah, so I just showed Nin's 2 scenes from the documentary, and in the first scene, it's April and Kendra's first phone call, and you can hear April saying, "You're so loved. You are the one thing I did right for many, many, many years. You are the one thing that I did right. And I'm so honored that you came back just to let me know." And then it transitions very quickly into the reunion scene when they meet for the first time. So this is 1 month later, and Kendra is like, "I'm going to puke, I'm going to puke, I'm going to puke." And she's so, you can like feel how nervous she is. And she's like, "I don't want the elevator door to open." But when she finally sees April, they linger in this beautiful hug. And this isn't a sound effect. I learned this through the podcast, All My Relations. That sound, that was Kendra's heart beating, like the microphone was picking it up. And you can hear her heart beating, and then like it slows down because it starts to sync with April's heartbeat. And it's really beautiful.
I really thought that was like
no,
a sound effect.
That was her heart beating. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So we find out more about April's backstory, and she herself was adopted because she was born to a white mom and a Native dad. And so it was this special case because she didn't have a formal affiliation with a tribe. So she wasn't protected by ICWA. So on top of this, she was born during a time when adoptions had a very little paper trail. So this generation was known as Lost Birds. It was named after Lost Bird, who was a Lakota woman, and she was adopted by a general after she was found alive among victims of the Wounded Knee Massacre. And so April struggled for decades with substance abuse and lived on the streets in Portland for years and years. She suffered abuse growing up, and at 6 years clean, so this is well after she had Kendra and gave her up for adoption. At 6 years clean, she got a letter from her birth mother and her birth father. She says she was a little bit like, what the fuck, when she got her dad's letter, because it was like, "I hope this talking paper finds you in a good place. I go by the name of Chattiscatum Witch Tatum." And she was like, "What is this?" And then at the end it says, "I believe I am your father." She says when she first met her dad, he walked up and he took his left hand and he swiped her down from shoulder to hip. She's kind of like, "Whoa, what's happening?" And he was like, "I'm claiming you," like a bear paw. And then her brother hugged her and said, "Welcome home. We've been looking for you my whole life." So in this documentary, we watch Kendra and April travel to Lummi for the Lummi Stomach Water Festival. This is in 2016 now. They're going around, they're hugging all their relatives. Everyone is telling Kendra, "Welcome home. I hope you had a good life." And there's one scene, which I'll play for you now. And it's Kendra in a car listening over the stereo system to this sacred recording of her grandfather singing. And it's this beautiful moment where you can just feel how loved she is just for existing. In the car with her is her, I guess, her great uncle, who is her grandfather's brother. So it's a sacred recording, so we can't hear it, but her great uncle is kind of tapping the feather on beat, and then she slowly starts to tap it too. And then he takes the feather and he brushes her head softly, and then her hands, almost like he's blessing her. And she feels tentative at first, but it's like, God, it's so beautiful. So after that scene, Kendra is kind of reflecting on how she used to see Native anger from a distance. Like, yes, like it's so tragic, but let's be compassionate and loving. Like all we can do now is move forward. But now she has this deeper understanding of that anger. So she's struggling. Like, what do I do with all this inside of me? And she says, I identified as white, this strange confusion of white guilt, Native anger. Where does it sit in me? How do I sit with both of these things? And she has this tragic realization towards the end of the documentary that she is the pinnacle of assimilation. She is the perfect example of kill the Indian, save the man. There's so many feelings and it's just so like convoluted and painful. And at the end of the documentary, Kendra's struggling to obtain Lummi citizenship. She does eventually in the years following obtain it, but there's so many hurdles and again, paperwork, but it ends so beautifully with the tribe wrapping up Kendra and April in these blankets in this welcome home ceremony. And this is the last scene I wanted to show you. And this is almost at the very end of the documentary. So in that last scene I just showed Nins, they say at the beginning, we have a ceremony that we want to do because I know that hole is still there for both of you. Whenever they feel like they're alone or they don't have a sense of belonging, they can wrap themselves in this blanket. Auntie and uncle are going to sing the honor song, and I want everyone to come and welcome them home. And then each person goes up and takes turns hugging them. And then Brooke, the filmmaker, ends with this narration saying, this story can't be wrapped up in a neat bow because it's such a complex experience to be Native in this country, and sometimes painful, but also beautiful and powerful and a million other things. And this is Kendra's journey, not mine. Neither one of us know the end of the story. So prior to this whole documentary and kind of doing this deep dive, I did not fully grasp all those atrocities that we were talking about, everything that happened in the 50s with the Indian Adoption Project. And again, maybe it wasn't necessarily our fault that we didn't learn about this, that this wasn't part of our curriculum, but it is certainly our responsibility now to understand how grave and widespread this was and still is. Whether it's genocide here on American soil or in Palestine or anywhere else in the world, if we are truly, truly committed to collective liberation, then it's our responsibility to understand and take on the plight of all oppressed people and acknowledge the role that our countries, our colonizers, play in perpetuating harm. We talk a lot about our journeys as individual souls and, choosing the bodies that we want to inhabit. But I think that there's so much to gain from knowing where you come from. And there's so much to lose when that's stripped from us. Last year, Jomar and I took Sana to the Philippines for the first time. And it was also our first time in Jomar's province. And it was so special to see them in this land. Both of them for the first time in this land where they come from. And meeting all these people, all their relatives for the first time. And obviously Sana is not going to remember it, but it still felt really important to give her that opportunity to, lay claim to her land and her people and for them to lay claim to her. And if we give her that chance to keep doing that for the rest of her life, it will completely shape her sense of self. Of course, this is obviously not the same thing as what Native people have experienced. Our people weren't forcibly removed from our homes, and we didn't endure genocide and stolen land and active attempts to obliterate our people, at least not to this extent, at least not on American soil. But that feeling of reconnecting with the people and the land that we come from and understanding their stories, it might not tell us everything that we need to know, but it can be a step in healing. And watching Kendra and April persist through this honestly like fucked journey of identity and arriving at a place that probably begets more questions than answers. You can see at the end that Kendra's like, what am I going to do with this? Like, how do I move forward with this? It's so messy and it's so heartbreaking, but God, their lives are so much richer because of it. I know that they don't regret setting out on this journey. And I think that for those of us who straddle multiple identities, we may never feel entirely this or entirely that, but maybe belonging isn't some sort of destination that we try to spend our whole lives arriving at. Maybe it's just a series of moments that we look back on and we say, oh, there it was. There it was when I stepped onto my homeland and in those waters for the first time. When I held my loved ones long enough for our heartbeats to slow and then sync up. When they wrapped me in that blanket and welcomed me home. All of these snippets and these memories and these feelings, like maybe that's belonging. So thank you, Kendra and Brooke and April, for sharing and capturing this story and for giving us all the chance to witness this journey that's so uniquely Native, but at the same time, so familiar for anyone who's searching for themselves.
Beautiful. It is so important. I mean, I think you and I, with all of these things that interest us, like astrology and all of these methods of telling us who we are, like we so desperately want to know all of us, you know? Who are we? Who are we? And that is such an important part of it. And it's heartbreaking that that's the story, because not only are you trying to ask this huge question, but then it opens up the, well, what if? Then who would I have been? You know?
Yeah. In that podcast episode on All My Relations, they ask Kendra, why is it important that Native children stay in Native homes? And she says that her child, she has 2 children now, her daughter has never not been Native. And she has so much more of an understanding of what that means than Kendra now in adulthood. And again, like it shapes us. I think that sometimes we don't really think about it that deeply because it's so embedded in us. Right. Especially our own heritage. It's like we're so sure of it.
Yeah.
But that's not always the case. All right, so tied together.
Fuck, I was going to ask you to do that.
Well, I think searching for meaning and belonging is kind of one and the same. I mean, like you said, we are just trying to understand ourselves and how we fit. Mm-hmm. But it is such a personal journey. Like what the filmmaker says at the end, like, this is Kendra's story.
Exactly. And then it's like those moments where you are discovering yourself, or where Kendra is discovering herself. And she's realizing all of this love that she had always had. She just didn't know it was there. That's God. Like, that's that power.
Yeah.
And it's for her.
Yeah.
I appreciate your bravery in telling that story too. I know that it's kind of similar to mine, where should I open this door? But if we don't, who will? Then we'll continue not knowing about this. We'll continue not wanting to face these topics. But why? How do we grow? How do we evolve? How do we learn if we don't?
This was kind of a heavier one, or weighty in its magnitude.
I don't know how to say heavy. I feel like it's more complex. Mm-hmm. More thinking that we have to do. Academics.
Well, listeners, crybabies, think we did it.
Yeah, I think we did a good job.
I think so too.
Maybe our spirit guides are like, tell this one. And then I'll tell her to tell this one. You know?
Yeah.
I bet you.
Probably.
I bet you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for listening, our crybabies. We appreciate you joining us on this journey of self-discovery and facing these hard topics, these complex topics, and just giving us grace as we try to navigate it together.
Beautifully said. I know it says comedy podcast, but sometimes we have shit to say.
Shit to pull out.
Shit to pull out of our asses. Well, you know where to find us. brbbcrying.podcast on all socials. Sign up for our Substack. Get the deets on the merch. Hear from us weekly. Send us your sob stories. Send us cry recommendations.
Give us those ratings.
I did see a couple.
Those reviews.
I did see a couple ratings.
You did?
Yeah. So it's working. People are listening.
Wow. I didn't check.
Yeah.
Okay. Appreciate it, you guys.
Yeah.
Truly, truly, truly. I know it's so annoying when every single content creator is shouting in your face for rates and reviews, but we have less followers than them, so.
And also there's a reason why they're telling you to do it. Because it's important.
Yeah, truly. And it's so, so appreciated. It helps us so much.
All right.
All right. I think you shit one out.
I did.
I shit one out.
You did.
It was both beautiful shits.
Beautiful shites.
So that's it for today. I'm going to get some well-deserved rest.
You do that.
You are going to get some well-deserved rest.
I will.
And then we will come back. But until then,
BRB crying.